Hi guys, and welcome to this book review. Today I'm going to be reviewing A Scanner Darkly by Philip K. Dick. As you can see, I picked this one up for a bargain, £2 in Streatham. I'm a pretty big fan of Philip K. Dick's work. You know, I really liked Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, try and get my teeth in, and Ubik, and some of his other more well-known novels. This one I hadn't actually ever heard of, and I saw it in the front of the bookshop and had to buy it. It was the front cover that drew me in. It's got this amazing kind of psychedelic 1960s style look to it. It almost looks like, a front cover to a 1960s prog rock album, doesn't it? It just has that picture to it. Philip K. Dick is a master of this kind of book, and this is no exception. This book, I just finished reading it last week, and I got pretty hooked on it. It was a real page turner. I didn't want to stop reading till I'd found the conclusion. The book is essentially about drug culture, and it's based around a fictional drug called Substance D. And Substance D is basically a really powerful, damaging kind of... I'm not sure if it's a hallucinogen, but I picture it just being very much like heroin, basically. And the drug is obviously very damaging, and it causes serious problems with the brain in terms of struggling to decide what's real and what's not. And the story follows a character called Bob Arctor and his journey with his bunch of drug addict friends. It's got some pretty bleak and powerful and depressing scenes in it. The kind of thing that, when I was reading it, I was thinking, has he hung out with drug addicts, or was he involved in drug culture? I didn't know a lot about his actual life as such. But the way that it's so bleak and so vividly described made me suspicious that he probably did take drugs or something like that. There's some very nasty things that happen to Bob Archer's friends and to him as well, and you get that kind of inside the guy's mind type understanding of what's happening from the drug and how it's making him feel. Now, the interesting thing about the book is that Bob Archer is essentially an undercover cop, and he's there to kind of get in on the drug scene and investigate it, but as part of that he becomes addicted to Substance D, the drug, and you kind of feel like reality is unwinding for him. You feel that intrusive thoughts are coming in, and you can read that as you go through. You see these weird thoughts coming through, and that obviously creates a very messy situation, the fact that he's an undercover cop living in a house full of drug addicts, and all the way through the book you're kind of guessing, do people know, have they figured it out that he is or he isn't? And you're sort of kept on your toes all the way through it, as we so often are in Philip K. Dick books. And there's always a twist at the end, and there is in this as well. There are some very interesting concepts in this. It's not strictly a sci-fi book, but it has got some interesting sci-fi elements. It's got holosuits in it. So the really fascinating part of this is when he's in the police station being his undercover cop and reporting to the guys, he has this holosuit which basically projects multiple different versions of a person. So lots of different faces, lots of different traits, physical traits, characteristics. So it's impossible for anyone to sort of ever really remember what you look like. You're just like a blur. And this is a very early book. I don't know when this was written, but this is a pretty early book, and I think that's a very unique concept that he was thinking and talking about there. It's one that we know really, really commonly now, like holosuits. Yeah, that's in everything, but it's nice to see an early iteration of it in a book, really. Now, the real tension of the book comes in that essentially ends up getting commissioned by the police to monitor himself, because obviously the guys in the police force, as far as you're aware, don't know who is undercover in the drug den. And so this really awkward and bizarre situation, and that creates a huge amount of tension where the police officer is essentially being asked to collect evidence on himself, which is such a unique and brilliant concept. The other thing I would say about this is that, touching on the sci-fi theme, there is a lot of science in this. There's a lot of neuroscience. You go through a couple of psychological experiments on Bob, or Fred as his police name is, in which he's asked to perform psychometric tests, and there's a lot of neuroscience in there about how the right and left brain communicates, and how disturbances of the communication between those two can affect perceptions of reality. And it's very profound how much neuroscience and psychology is in here. It's really awesome to read fiction that has a really deep grounding in science, and that is what I feel you get here. It just you can tell that he's read up and understands this stuff. The characters are quite funny, but there's always that kind of tension to the humour because they're unpredictable. They're on a load of drugs. You're suspicious of everybody. You don't really know what's going on. I don't want to give too much plot away. I'm not going to tell you any of the twists or spoilers really, so I have to just be quite careful. But like a traditional, true Philip K. Dick style, there's a lot of twists and turns, a lot of things that keep you guessing at what's going on. And you know, I would definitely recommend this. This is one that I hadn't heard of, but I would strongly recommend it. And the term "a scanner darkly" is explained in the book. It's kind of deep and quite hard for me to put into words. But if you read it, you'll know what it's about. So yeah, it's just a little book review there to say maybe you guys, if you haven't read this one, should check out "A Scanner Darkly." Take care, and I'll speak to you all soon.